The brawl quickly turns into a three-way shootout between Rondo's crew, Vaughn, and the police in what has been one of the craziest events in all of hip-hop history. You know, one hot topic that's been throughout hip-hop in its entire history is if these artists are actually about what they say, what they rap about. Do they actually live that life? And if we're being honest, most of it is a facade. You know, it's a business. It's called the music business, and artists are putting on an image. They're trying to sell an image. They're trying to sell a character to people, but that's definitely not the case for every artist, and King Von is definitely one of those exceptions. King Von grew up in the south side of Chicago, and he came up in a movement called drill music, which if you look it up literally means kill music. You know, it's all about robbing, it's about shooting, it's just about straight up drugs and violence. Vaughn had an extremely rough upbringing, something that you would see in a Martin Scorsese movie. And through growing up in that environment and putting it in music, he became one of the most talented artists of our generation, while also living a double life as a hitman for one of Chicago's deadliest gangs. King Von came on the scene in 2017 with Lil Durk, and in 2018 he skyrocketed to success with his super mega hit song Crazy Story, an eerie, chilling story about real life situations that he went through. He followed it up with Crazy Story 2 and Crazy Story 3, and it looks like he was going to be hip-hop's next megastar. And we're not even talking about drill artists or outside of Chicago. We're talking all of hip-hop. Like, he had that star potential. He had that energy in his music. He had that drive. He had that like killer instinct that really could have made him amazing, one of a kind. Vaughn's music was super dark, super eerie, chilling to listen to, and it all stems from where he grew up, because he grew up on O Block. And to anyone that doesn't know what O Block is, it is by far the most infamous block in Chicago, one of the most dangerous, one of the most gang-ridden, just a place that a law-abiding citizen would want to avoid at all costs. O Block got its name from a 20-year-old Black Disciple gang member named Odie Perry getting gunned down there back in 2011. This is where Vaughn grew up, and Vaughn was a part of this gang as well. He was actually a hitman for the Black Disciples. Like, it was no joke out there. The Black Disciples were an offshoot of another gang called the Gangster Disciples, and they were always at war. They were one of the reasons Chicago was one of the deadliest cities in America. They were always shooting at each other, always killing each other. It was just bad, all around just bad. Vaughn was also involved in some serious cases that somehow he always seemed to avoid jail time for. He's been named the culprit behind a lot of shootings, and somehow one of the things that makes him so special is he built an entire music career, a very successful music career, while having an inch-thick police report on him. Police were on trying to get him at any opportunity they could. He was named the shooter in the murder of Kekira Barnes, who back in 2011 was responsible for killing Odie Perry. He was involved in another murder in 2014, the murder of Malcolm Stuckley, a college student who was a bystander. He wasn't involved in any gangs, any of that lifestyle. He was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. And Vaughn got caught up in his murder as well after we saw some gang members at a party, went to his car, got a gun, came back and started firing into the event. Vaughn avoided jail time on both of those cases. The first one, there wasn't enough hard evidence against him. The second one, he skated out, but his associate ended up getting 30 years. He's been acquitted of that charge now, but still just crazy lucky situations. After he died, he had another murder pinned against him, the murder of Modell McCambry in 2012 in Chicago, another gang member as well, which people suspected that it was just the Chicago Police Department trying to throw shade on King Von's name, but it was another murder that was on him. But life is a funny way of giving people what they give out to the world, and they gave it to King Von on November 6, 2020, when he was outside of an Atlanta hookah bar. It started when King Von walked out of the Atlanta nightclub and saw Quando Rondo, who he hated, and some of his affiliates taking a nap in the car, and as soon as he saw him, it was on. He runs up and starts attacking Rondo, which very shortly turns into a massive brawl on the street. This is 3 in the morning, just remember. A member of Rondo's crew runs off, ducks behind an SUV, and starts shooting into the crowd. Police hear the shots, they come by. Police are shooting now. It's just an all-out shootout in the middle of the street in Atlanta. King Von ends up getting hit in the situation, and Von's associates throw him in a car and try to get him to a hospital, but he does not make it in time and ends up succumbing to his injuries. And it ends up being a huge, senseless tragedy, and a loss of life and a loss of a lot of potential. King Von's death mirrored exactly what he experienced growing up. Gangs, gang violence, shootouts, constant, non-stop. all the time. And in some ways, it was almost inevitable that he would go out this way just from how deep he was involved in that lifestyle. It's sad. It's really sad because he really could have done a lot of good for the world and been a massive driver of change, not only for Chicago, but for the entire hip hop culture and potentially the entire world. King Von, rest in peace to a legend.